With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to round number 7 of the classic IndyCar series powered by the Buttkicker. This is round number 7, the MKT Manufacturing and Aero X Indy 250 here at the Fly Technology Raceway is about to get itself started. My name is Connery Maddock. I'm joined as ever by the absolutely wonderful Andrew Kinsella for tonight's broadcast. Andrew, of course, you know, this track no stranger to these Indy cars, of course, but we will be doing full distance, 200 laps of this circuit, and it's not the easiest one in the world either.
Oh, it's certainly not as far as it's probably one of the trickier roles, not in America, but in the world. We have two very distinct corners on this track. We have two highly corners.
I will have to interrupt you there. Unfortunately, it seems like Andrew has turned into some form of robot. As we'll have to continue on there, so we'll have to hope that gets itself sorted out. But without further ado, let's take a look at what the set of circumstances are here heading into this particular round number 7. It is Joshua Chin that heads up the championship by 235 points over Henry Bennett. Then it's a close run thing, 10 points back to Ethan Egan and Ben Cameron Dance in P4. Lucas LaVille is in 5th place in points with Jan Hoffman in 6th, Randy Shoemaker in 7th with Jamie Wilson in 8th. Jan Dirks in P9 and Sebastian Kinder will round out the top 10 in terms of points. And in fact, Dirks and Kinder are tied on the exact same number of points, 111 for the both of them. Let's have a look then at our schedule. Well, we're basically just about getting in towards the second half of the season now. Of course, we had our big old introduction at Homestead Miami Speedway, then hopping over to the road course of Sebring, then towards South America in Brazil with Interlagos before heading back stateside with Laguna Seca. However, it's our third oval in a row here, but we do head to the street circuit of Belle Isle for round number 8 on the September the 4th. So that is certainly one to be looking forward to here, Andrew. Street circuit coming up. Of course, we need to get this one out of the way first.
We have a bit of diverse schedule, I will say, coming up second half. It's week 2 in
And I'm going to have to cut you off there. Unfortunately, these things do happen. Technology doesn't want to play with us here at the best of times. We tested everything beforehand, but as soon as you hit that big old go live button, sometimes things just collapse at the worst time. So I'm going to have to continue on by myself for the moment while Andrew gets himself his internet issues sorted. I do believe that he was having to deal with some storms in the area that might be affecting his connection. So that's just what we're going to have to deal with for the moment before we dive straight in here in the MKT Manufacturing and Aero X Indy 250. The qualifying has already been completed. The drivers are currently just getting themselves their last little bits of warm-up out there before we go racing here today. We can bring you the starting grid in just a couple of moments' time. But of course, just as a couple of introductions to the way the racing is going to work out here today. Well, we've got 200 laps. The fuel tank can last around about 60. Well, we're hoping for a good couple of green flag stops here today. That would be absolutely ideal. Race length, we're at about an hour and 30 minutes if we went green flag all of the way. You can see the 2021 podium there. Matt Cook taking the race win last time out. That race actually took 1 hour and 41 minutes. Drivers will start from the rear of the grid here today due to penalties being applied. That's Kevin Yatola, Dennis Garise, Stefan Slacker, and JC Hay. If they connect up last minute here, I don't think any of those drivers are actually connected to the session at the moment. So then, without further ado, we should be able to jump straight in to what our starting grid is going to look like here today. Let's just take a couple of moments. Sometimes it does take a little bit of a moment to try and get itself loaded in, but should be here relatively shortly, and there we go. We can show it. Joshua Chin takes pole position here today, with Logan Simmons also on that front row. Jamie Wilson in third with Jack Turner in fourth. Ethan Agan will line up fifth with Andrew Aiken in P6. Then we have a look at the second page. We've got Lucas Leville starting in seventh with his Vortex Sim Racing teammate Jan Hoffman in P8. Caleb Weekly in P9 with Vesa Ilya Olia in P10. Julian Altena will start in 11th for the Via team. And of course, Robert Grosser starts in 12th. Willie Schwarbauer in his return to this series from the 2021 season. He starts in P13 with Andrew Arias-Saunders in P14. Greg Groundy will start in 15th with Jack Stiles in 16th. Hannes Pitkanen will start in 17th place here today with Sturm in 18th. Jonathan Diggs will start in 19th with Henry Bennett in 20th. Cameron Dance starts 21st. No lap time being set for any of these drivers towards the very back. So that's a big recovery effort from Bennett, big recovery effort required from Dance as well. We've got Robert Bernko and Matthias Melhorn rounding out the 23 car starting grid here today. So getting into the formation, getting up to form the grid at the moment. We're just waiting for a couple of cars to get themselves ready and waiting before we get underway under that pace car. But Andrew, we're going to try again. Hopefully things have cleared up. Expectations? Apparently not. There we go. So I'm just going to have to solo com this one just for the moment. So I hope you guys will bear with me, all the viewers that are tuning in right about now. But soon we'll see that pace car roll off, and we'll get this MKT Manufacturing and Aero X Indy 250 underway. Certainly can't wait for it. Hopefully we get some green flag running in early on here. No flurries of cautions to start us off. And there's the signal. Pace car rolls off with the rest of the field in tow. Joshua Chin, of course, pole position. Logan Simmons, big chance for him on the outside of row number 1. Jamie Wilson, Jack Turner, row number 2 there. 2 Chimera cars on the inside might work out well for a bit of a timed start here from Joshua Chin. We'll see how that one works out and see if any of the other drivers can respond to it. While we wait, we can take a look at the track conditions here. Looking very, very warm. We've got 49 degrees Celsius on this track already. That might cause a little bit of a problem when it comes to the tires at the end of these stints. And we're not even at the hottest point in the day either. We're almost at 20 past 1 here in sim time. So it's another hour or so before we'll see the absolute hottest temperatures. So that might be a big concern inside of the drivers' minds today. We'll have to see how that influences the pit stop strategy. But the pace car will dip its way down on towards the safety of pit lane. The MKT Manufacturing and Aero X Indy 250 here for the Classic IndyCar Series, powered by Buttkicker, is now underway. First lap and a half under our belts now. Joshua Chin leads the way with the good starts from Logan Simmons, from Jamie Wilson in that instance. The Chimera guy's not able to time the start perhaps as well to be able to gain the position for Jamie Wilson up into that second place. So Logan Simmons certainly on the ball with regards to that initial start. We've got ourselves, let's see, Ethan Agan in 4th place at the moment, Andrew Aitken in P6 for the moment, and there's no very big dramas off of that start, I would have to argue here, Andrew. It's been a relatively calm affair, if you're still there.
It seems like it's been a nice calm start. Everyone's fallen in line pretty well. Hopefully you guys are hearing me better now. I think my internet connection has stabilized for everyone. Oh, and just as I say it's been calm, we have a yellow flag come out here.
Yeah, and that is from Andrew Adair Saunders. It seems that has had a little bit of a problem in the early going. Let's take a look at exactly what may have happened to the iconic motorsports driver, diving down towards the inside of the number 59 there. I believe that is Jack Stiles on the outside. Oh, he just clips the apron a little bit and a heavy shunt with the inside wall.
And just really unfortunate start for Andrew Adair Saunders. That was definitely heavy damage there, and it was unfortunately mostly self-inflicted there. And it's so easy to do here, especially in the early going when you're not quite used to the track, used to the conditions, and he just gets a little too low, as you say, and as soon as you clip that apron, basically you're a passenger.
That does seem to be the case, and well, a very damaged IndyCar down on towards the pit lane. So it seems like Worldwide Technology Raceway has taken its first casualty. 20 cars at the start. Now we have 19 cars still running. Let's see what the situation is with regards to pit stops. Of course, we're not expecting them to come down this early on. They only had a couple of green flag laps under their belts, so that's why you see the vast majority of everyone keeping themselves out there for now. We missed a lot of the pre-show points that you were going to make, Andrew, so I guess you can make them now under the caution. Yeah,
so I guess starting with this track, as you viewers have already seen, this is a very unique track and a challenging track for these oval drivers, because you have two very distinct sets of corners on to negotiate around here. Turns 1 and 2 very banked, but also very tight, so you actually find yourself almost braking in some cases for that corner. And then turns 3 and 4, it's a much wider radius, but it's also much flatter, and so it presents a very unique challenge, not only for the drivers, but for the setup builders as well, to find a car that works at both ends of the track.
Yeah, that's one of the points of contention today, and of course the drivers will be able to try and change a couple of things while they're behind the wheel here over the course of 200 laps. You don't want to have the car in the same place in terms of the in-car adjustments for the entire race. A lot of IndyCar drivers, you would know this for sure, Andrew, like to even change things for every single corner of the race.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those tracks where you'll find a number of the drivers will be doing just that, trying to find a setting that works in 1 and 2 and a different setting that works in 3 and 4, and that's definitely a way to sort of help ease the burden on the setup builders, is to have those two distinct settings, but it also makes for a very busy cockpit in the car. And these straightaways, while they're fairly long for a short oval, they're not long in terms of some of the ovals that we've been to, such as Indianapolis. So there's not a lot of time to adjust in between, particularly if you're in traffic.
Yeah, so you got to be quick through those menus. That's all I'm saying. And of course, a lot of these drivers will have hotkeys for those things as well, so they don't have to go through all of the black box menus. But as we roll around under the caution here, so we've got the lights out on top of the pace car, signals that we have the 1 to go. So Joshua Chin got himself off to a pretty good start, good launch off of the, well, coming down in towards turn number 1, was able to establish a decent gap over Logan Simmons. But is there anything he could do to help out his teammate Jamie Wilson, though?
Yeah, you can do a little bit of mirror driving here, particularly in turns 1 and 2. There are a couple of distinct lanes that you can take through that corner. So if Josh is feeding the aero wash to Logan Simmons, that will certainly help Jamie Wilson. But it is a tough place to pass, and we're going to see that until we get some tire fall off. I think it's going to be tough for Jamie Wilson to get around Logan Simmons.
Back under green flag racing conditions here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. And a good launch once again. Good gap from Joshua Chin heading down in towards turn number 1. Logan Simmons himself getting a good gap over Jamie Wilson, so the Chimera guys still not able to really time things to be able to gain any sort of advantage here, similar to the initial race start. We've got battle for 4th place going on between Ethan Agan and Andrew Aitken. Try saying that 10 times fast as they head their way through turns 3 and 4 and come up across the start-finish line. It's, again, a relatively clean start from the front runners, but it seems like all the action is happening from around about 8 on back.
Yeah, this is, as you say, where all the action is, and it does tend to happen this way in an oval race. The cars start to get stacked up just a little bit, but we do have an attempted pass here. That this is Lucas Laville trying to get by Andrew Aitken on the high side here. Laville on the bottom side. And Laville didn't have the best qualifying effort, so it's not surprising to see him starting to work his way through this field as the green flag starts to pick back up again.
Yep, that's pulling Laville up 1 spot. Andrew Aitken has to be kind of looking in his wing mirrors as well now, because Jack Turner in that number 55. Can't miss him. He's in that bright lime green IndyCar. Certainly, well, tagging on to the back of this little trio that we have going on here. A couple of changes of positions happening a little bit further back through the field. Mike Granzi, I think, lost a little bit of momentum coming through 3 and 4 there. He's in this little fight now with Cameron Dance, who's looking to try and recover from that back of the grid penalty.
Yeah, so
I was going to say, was it a penalty or did he just not set a time? I think it might have been the latter.
Yeah, both Dance and Henry Bennett, who's a couple positions back, neither of them set a time in qualifying, and so they are both on the recovery drive. Dance so far has been having a little bit more luck than Henry Bennett has, but Bennett actually just got around Hans Pikkinen, and I think Pikkinen might have had a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah, it seems like it was the case. Yeah, he's a good amount behind that. Not entirely sure what happened there to Hannes Pitkinen. We'll try and get it on the replay potentially. There he is, slow towards the inside. We'll wind things back just that little bit further. Ooh, we got it all sorts of loose out of 3 and 4, and that's the same incident, or almost the same incident, that ruined Andrew Saunders' race. This time, Pitkinen saves it.
Pitkinen was lucky to save it there. In fact, it was even just a little bit further back than Andrew Adair Saunders. It looked like he got loose before he even hit the apron there. That car definitely light on the rear end downforce, it seems, so that's going to be something that Pitkinen's going to have to manage throughout the course of this race. But meanwhile, we've still got some battles going on here in this sort of mid-pack area. This is Julian Altena and Nathan. Oh, big incident in turn 1. That's
Jack Stiles. I think Julia Olia is also involved in it as well. I saw him tumbling down the timing screen. Well, yeah, he was on the grass there, just at the very bottom of the shot, so we'll have to see what happened here. Seems like a very, very big wreck, potentially.
Yeah, it looks like Stiles trying to take the inside line here, and then Ilha Olila just it looks like he just checked up more than Styles was expecting, and Styles just runs into the back of Ilha Olila here.
Let's have the onboard here with Jack Styles. Climbing it down towards the inside. Yeah, just checked up a little bit. Styles carrying a lot more momentum into the corner. And, well, these cars, you know, everything happens so quickly in these cars that, you know, something that looks like enough time to react on the TV cameras, once you get onto the onboards, there was absolutely no chance.
Yeah, the margins are so thin in these cars, and particularly, again, at a track like this where you might be letting off the gas or you might even be brushing the brakes into turn one. If one guy is thinking that he's going to go in and just let off the gas and rotate through the corner and the other guy has to hit the brakes, it can cause a miscommunication like that. But this is Henry Bennett staying out, whereas much of the rear of the field has come down pit lane for the first set of pit stops here on lap 16.
So who are we seeing now? We're seeing, well, Bennett. He came down in sort of in the first caution, so that's where he got his stop done. Everyone else, though, it seems like I would say just shy of half the field, largely cars that were at the very back, coming down in for a fresh set of tires and a top off with the fuel. Just well, make their strategy well a little bit more different, potentially a little bit easier compared to those that didn't come down in. We've got 16 laps on the boards, and well, like I said, over half the field yet to come down in. But that's not a problem. We haven't had that much green flag running.
Yeah, and I think that probably we're a little bit too early to really look at cutting out a stop for any of the drivers who came down pit lane. But what this will do is you lose more than a lap here if you pit under the green flag conditions. So potentially that's 15 or so laps where some of these drivers can put the drivers who stayed out in that danger zone of potentially a caution coming out and losing a lap if it happens during the middle of a green flag cycle of stops now.
And, well, if you're at the back of the field, why not come down in? You know, especially if you're on the you know, last couple of positions, you're not gaining a lot by staying out, and you might have it all to gain by coming down in and making sure you can extend your stint a little bit further, should it be required, and should we get a longer green flag stint. But it's been, well, 2 cautions so far inside of 17 laps. The race hasn't really gotten itself going just yet. But there's always a chance that this time, once the pace car comes down on towards the pit lane, that you know, we won't be seeing it again anytime soon, or may not see it at all. You know, these are the situations that you have to keep in mind.
Absolutely. You never know what's going to come at an oval race like this. Sometimes you get this sort of stop-start nature that we've had, and sometimes you just suddenly will have a long green flag run, particularly now that we're down to 18 cars. The fewer cars on track, the less down to 18 cars. The fewer cars on track, the less likely a caution is to come out. So every time we've eliminated a couple of cars, just that percentage possibility of us having a long run happen here, that's going to increase every time. Jack Styles coming back out on 18th. In 18th position, but that rear wing does not look healthy there, Connery.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here on the initial couple of laps of this green flag run, because that is not going to help the rear downforce. And, well, let's see if we can get it around the corners, shall we say? Because you know, even though it is short circuit, you know, it's, you know, these cars by their nature are incredibly aero dependent, and any disruption to it, like damage to that rear wing, is going to cause all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, it really is. And as you say, or as we've seen already, getting loose is something that these drivers have contended with so far in this race, so definitely not the ideal scenario for Jack Styles there.
Yeah, well, he is towards the very back of the grid, so if he does have an issue, hopefully he won't collect anyone else in any potential spin or problems through the middle of the corner. But the pace car lights are out now. About to get things back underway for the MKT manufacturing an Aero X Indy 250. We'll complete 18 laps on to 19 once we get this one going. Everyone going towards the top, as you usually see. Field under control of Joshua Chin. He launches it out of turn number 4. Across the start-finish line, green flag here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. That was a better start this time around, though, for Jamie Wilson. Didn't let Simmons get away too well from second.
Yeah, definitely much better for Jamie Wilson there. But again, it's going to be tough just because Logan Simmons will be able to sniff that clean air, and that might just be enough to keep Jamie Wilson at bay for now. And I think if they settle in after a couple of laps, Jamie Wilson will lose the opportunity here. I think more of the moves are going to come back in that sort of 6th to 10th place battle that we're seeing. Ethan Hagen sort of back the field up just a little bit on that start, and we've got some drivers who are looking a little bit racier, including Henry Bennett, who's now up to 11th place. Oh, big wreck in the background. That's Jan Hoffman and Jack Stiles.
Did I call it? Jack Stiles with a damaged car taking the race start. Has it taken out Hoffman as an innocent bystander? Let's take a look at it. There's Stiles struggling with the car. Slow down the straights as well. It's not going to help. Yep. Oh, nowhere for Hoffman to go at all.
And that's the problem with these cars at this track, is you have just no reaction time, and Hoffman just could not avoid the spinning car of Jack Stiles. And Stiles, he lost it really late in the corner. It looked like it was going to stick, and then suddenly it snaps on him, and then, yeah, just nowhere for Hoffman to go there.
Back onto yellow. Here for the Indy 250 for the Classic IndyCar Series, powered by the Buttkicker. Hopefully this is not a sign of things to come. A couple of more drivers out of this race. So we've got, well, we're down to 16 now that are actively out there and circulating. So you would have thought that would have been a bit of a recipe for some more green flag running. Although I do know that the curse of the commentator when it comes to this, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, we see Henry Bennett on screen. So he has taken pit stops on the first caution and the third caution, and everyone else who's taken a pit stop so far has taken a pit stop on the second caution. So Henry has basically done the opposite of what everyone else is, although that was a pretty long stop for Henry Bennett there.
Could have had a damage repair, could have just been speeding on pit lane. That would have been a bit of an embarrassing mistake, but Henry Bennett is not all that many positions lost, considering he was tailing around towards that sort of final third of the field anyway. The thought process here for Henry Bennett might be that if we go green all the way here, this is the point where we can get it done on, well, just shy of 60 lap stints, and he could be able to cut out a pit stop.
That's a definite possibility, Connery. We definitely know that these drivers some of them can really save fuel, and this is a track where saving fuel is a bit easier than other ovals, simply because you do have a little bit of a coast phase into that first corner, so you can really sort of modulate the throttle and try and find a way to almost manufacture some extra fuel there. But for all these drivers at the front that we're watching right now, they still haven't come down pit lane, and it's now 23 laps into this race. But keep in mind, because of all the yellow that we've been having, they've also been able to save some fuel just by virtue of not having to go at full speed for much of this run so far.
But we'll see if all these caution laps have indeed helped the front half of the field. Everyone down to P10 of Caleb Weakley has not come down in just yet. Not a huge pressing need to at the moment, given the lack of green flag running that we've had. But with a couple more cars out of the race, not many damaged cars, or not any damaged cars potentially, we might be on for one here. But we'll just have to wait and see. At least they're getting a lot of restart practice.
Yes, they are. And the restarts in this car are tricky. There is a definite power band that kicks in, even though these are naturally aspirated engines. The power delivery is actually pretty brutal in these cars. So having the extra experience doing these restarts, that is a good thing, because, again, not the easiest car to get off the line.
No traction control to help you at all. And the issue becomes more prevalent, especially when you're maybe on older tyres. Maybe we'll get that towards the end of the race if we get a late race caution, with still some laps remaining, some daredevils trying to stay out there. but we're still quite away from that point. Pace car lights are out. 1 to go from this point. Joshua Chin has led every single lap so far. Started in pole position, of course. No one has really had any opportunities of trying to get past him.
I think the major opportunities people will see when it comes to Josh Chin is either the pit stop cycle or when we start getting into real traffic. But in order for that to happen, we need to have a long green flag run, and hopefully this is going to be the one that does the trick for that.
Well, we're just a couple of moments from seeing. Field will soon be under the control of that number 93 Team Chimera car of Joshua Chin. Of course, he's in a comfortable spot as far as the championship is concerned. And he's got Henry Bennett way down the field. So the points delta so in this race for Chin is really working out in his favor as we go green flag racing once again. Storming our way down in towards turn number 1. Chin has a decent gap to those behind. A couple of bits of side-by-side already going on in the mid-pack of the field. Julian Altena trying to fight it out with the bright green car, the 55 of Jack Turner. We've got Robert Grosser also attempting to get stuck into that particular battle as well. As we get our green flag lap under our belts, let's get a couple more.
Absolutely knocking on all the wood that I have here that we are going to see some green flag running, but right now we've got some nice action here, and this is really what we want to see is some nice clean side-by-side battling between these drivers here today. And couple of drivers that have been on the move so far. Cameron Dance just behind this battle that we're seeing right now. He's worked his way up into the 10th position, but right now it's Robert Grosser trying to look on the inside of the 55 of Turner there.
Yeah, having a very, very good look indeed. And in fact, even ahead of these guys, Andrew Aitken, Lucas Leville, they're looking to try and do battle as well. So you kind of have to have the eyes on the back of your head here. Here's Grosser getting towards the inside of Jack Turner on the way down in towards turn number 3. Hugging that low line, looking to try and get that launch off the corner. And he does, slots in ahead of Jack Turner. So that's another position gains there from Robert Grosser. Trying to make the trying to get the momentum going here early on. He's got a couple more cars ahead of him, certainly on the list. Altena, Laville, Aitken, all further down the road, all in very close proximity as well. We'll be careful about that aero wash as well, especially for Altena following that closely off the corner.
The Vortex drivers, both Grosser and Laville, they're looking really racy here in this early going. It looks like they didn't maybe have the qualifying pace that they were hoping to, but in terms of race pace, they definitely are looking strong.
Ooh, a move towards the inside there. Julian Altena, Lucas Leville down the inside of Andrew Aitken, side by side through 3 and 4. Completing lap 28 here, of course. Leville still maintaining that inside in towards turn number 1 and 2. This is all going to stack them up behind Altena. You can see Altena, just a little bit of a wiggle coming off the corner. Not entirely sure which line to pick. And, well, you can see how much of it's affected those further back because Robert Grosser, Altena, Turner, it's all disrupted them behind. But due to that 2x2 running ahead of them, Turner almost up into the wall.
It's a game of inches here at Gateway, and look at Cameron Dance looking to make it 3 wide. He thinks better of it, and Altena is able to sort of stabilize the losses at this point, but it does look like Altena's maybe not handling the best through that turn 1 area. He definitely seems to be losing the front in the mid corner, and Jack Turner coming to his inside now.
Altena's got to be careful not to be swamped here, but look at that 3 wide coming down the pit straight here. Down in towards turn number 1. There's the dive down the inside from Cameron Dance.
Oh no!
He gets a bit too greedy. He tried for the 2 for 1 and it ends up in a big wreck in the first half of the lap.
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to lay the blame solely and squarely on the shoulders of Cameron Dance there. He just, as you say, got too greedy, took it 3 wide into the corner, and if you're going to do that, you have to be confident you can keep the car on the inside lane, and he just drifts up into the 31 of Altena. Turner had wisely backed out, but Altena just completely unsuspecting there. He held his line on the outside, and Cameron Dance just drifted up and spun him around.
Indeed, and one of the drivers that potentially got a decent view of that one, Caleb Weekly, will take the onboard with him. There's the scrapping going on ahead of him. There's the 3 wide moment. Caleb's probably thinking, okay, I've got to be prepared for a big wreck here because you're not usually going to have 3 wide work here. Down in towards turn number 1. And sends it in. He's always going to wash up the circuit directly into the side alternate and weakly avoids it all.
Yeah, so unfortunately it does look like as well, we didn't see that initially, but it looks like Jack Turner did take some damage there as well. Now we've got some more split strategies going on. About half of the people who hadn't come down pit road to this point are on pit road this time, but Chin, Wilson, Aitken, and Gross are all staying out one more time, even though we're 34 laps into a stint.
Yeah, well, it's like you said during the last course, and it has been a little bit stop-start here, so it might pay dividends. You see, yeah, Turner missing front wing. Hopefully that can be replaced. He's not the only one with the missing front wing as well, as we see cars coming off of pit lane, and well, it will be Logan Simmons that beats them all, then Egan, then Lucas Laville, all with all identical pit stop times, by the way, all 8.1 seconds. Weekly 8.5, losing a couple of tenths in that instance. And, well, waiting for the rest of them to come off the pit lane now. Turner, he's got himself, would have thought, his front wing replaced. And yes, he does. Hopefully, there's no further damage to that car, because if it is damage that's just isolated to the front wing, car's basically good as new. But if you've got any damage a little bit further back, maybe towards the actual sort of monocoque bit or the suspension or the floor, that's going to be a bigger issue, and that's something that can't really be repaired.
I was going to say the suspension is definitely the cause for concern for Jack Turner here. He's got to be very confident that he has his tools set up well, because while he might not be as fast, he can potentially use those in-car adjustments to find a way to make that car handle well enough to get around. And at the rate that we are losing people out of this race, he could still be in for a good finish here. The other thing I want to note here, Connery, is that not everyone behind Chin, Wilson, Aitken, and Grosser came in. Henry Bennett and Jonathan Diggs also stayed out. Henry Bennett's working a lap 11 of his stint, and Diggs is on lap 19 of his stint. So that puts the 007 and your championship contender right within shouting distance of Josh Chin now.
Certainly what Joshua did not want to see. Bennett benefiting from the situation. Ethan Egan was one of those drivers that came down in, and he's currently down in 8th place at the moment. That's Ethan Egan, who's 3rd place in the championship at the moment. 4th place is Cameron Dance, and well, we saw what happened to him. Still down on pit lane, getting major damage repairs. May not even see him by the time this race is done. So a couple of changes with regards to the championship there. This is all in flux, though. We've still got the well, half the season to go here in the Classic IndyCar Series, powered by the Buttkicker. We've got what? We've got Belle Isle coming up as our street race. We've got another oval in Auto Club Speedway. Then we head to a couple more road courses, the Indy roads and Phillip Island will round number 10 and 11 before we finish it off where all series like this should finish off, and that's at the Indianapolis Oval in November 13th. That one will be an incredible one, especially if we have a championship fight going down into there.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than trying to settle a championship at the famous Indy 500. And it's not something that we see much in the real world, although championships can be made and broken in the month of May in the real world. As we've seen, Marcus Ericsson has ridden his Indy 500 win this year to a great position for these final 2 rounds, although Will Power is definitely looking to spoil that. But here we are. We're about ready to go back to green, I believe, here, Connery.
Indeed, we are. For the I've lost count time of asking. Here we go, back to green flag racing at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, round number 7 of the Classic IndyCar Series, powered by the Buttkickers. Back under the green flag, heading our way down in towards turn number 1. Joshua Chin has led every single lap so far. It's been a little bit closer for P2 and back, and well, Jamie Wilson is the occupier of that 2nd place for now. Andrew Aitken in 3rd place, but what can the cars on slightly fresher tyres do. The likes of Henry Bennett, Logan Simmons, Ethan Hagen, Lucas Laville. Well, a couple of those are scrapping in amongst each other at the moment. Lucas Laville trying to fend off Jonathan Diggs.
And Diggs actually one of the drivers who stayed out this last time by, so he's falling actually pretty quickly through the field at this point. Already been passed by, I believe, 3 drivers since the drop of that green flag just a lap and a half ago. So definitely Diggs is not feeling very happy right now. And then you see on screen here, we do want to cover this. This is a very, very hot track that these drivers are dealing with. 49 Celsius, 120 Fahrenheit. So these drivers and the tires especially are going to come into play if we can get a long green flag stint going here.
Indeed they will. A little bit of a poke out there from Logan Simmons. Not going to result in the pass just yet. Tries to diamond off the corner a little bit though. This will give him a little bit of runner speed down the pit straight, and he can use that runner speed to try and get towards the inside here on Henry Bennett. So you can see Logan Simmons basically in the process of setting up that move, can't quite get clear on the outside, or the inside, excuse me, of turn 2. And it's coming off the top. Bennett might have a little bit more momentum, but they are actually nose to nose in terms of levelness down in towards turn 3, and Simmons, well, sticks it down the inside and he's got a little bit more grip and can get himself past. And now Henry Bennett can't afford to lose two places here, because we got Ethan Hagen behind as well that will want to try and follow through on the tyre tracks of Simmons.
And these are 10-lap fresher tires on the likes of Simmons and Hagen compared to Bennett right now. So I think you're definitely seeing a little bit of that coming into play here with the 007. But how much can we say about the work that Logan Simmons has been doing so far today? Of course, he was in second for most of that first run until he came into the pits, but he has definitely looked possibly the only challenger to Josh Chin here so far today.
Yeah, well, that's the impression that we've gotten at least, but we still got a long way to go. Still over three quarters of this race still to go. Still a lot of stories can be written. Ethan Hagen, though, unsuccessful in trying to get past Henry Bennett this time around, and time is of the essence because, well, Simmons is starting to try and run for the hills a bit further down the road. Can't be losing too much time to him. It looks to the high side coming off the corner, and, well, Bennett's aware of it. Perhaps the perspective of the camera made that look a little bit closer than it was. But Hagen, yeah, he might end up getting a little bit stuck here.
And you can tell that Hagen's a little bit desperate to try and find a way past Bennett. Meanwhile, Logan Simmons looking to the inside, possibly on Robert Grosser here. And Grosser, of course, is on much, much older tires compared to Logan Simmons, so I expect Simmons will be able to make this move sooner rather than later. And in fact, he does go to the inside here. This should be done and dusted through turn 3 here.
Here we go. There's the view at it from up above. The fresher tires gives the performance on that inside, and he can carry at least a little bit of the speed coming off the corner. Grosser's going to still give this one a huge old fight. Of course, he is entitled to, although it might be a losing battle considering the tyre performance. They get so close off the corner. Oh my word, we almost had our deep caution of the day.
Yeah, very lucky to avoid a caution there as Simmons just drifted up just that little bit, and Grosser had to have some heads-up driving to avoid that. Meanwhile, it looks like Lucas Laville has gotten at least alongside Ethan Hagen here. So basically Laville has said, well, if you're not going to pass Henry Bennett, then I'm going to try it. But you can see just how much that aero wash affects that low line, and when you don't have the ability to run your car out to the inside or out fully to the outside wall, you just lose all of your momentum, and that's cost Lucas Laville not just with Ethan Hagen but also with Caleb Weekly there. Meanwhile, Hagen has now finally gotten around Henry Bennett.
Finally, of the 10th time of asking, it feels like. Lost quite a bit of time to Simmons, who was able to get through in a more efficient manner, although of course we did see Simmons have his own issues with Grosser. So if Hagen can get past Grosser efficiently once he catches the back of him, maybe things will have equaled out a little bit here. Bennett still remaining the cork in the bottle somewhat though, as here comes Caleb Weekly down towards the inside of turn number 1. Lucas Laville, after losing a bit of time after that,
whoa, a little bit of contact.
Yes, I believe he did. Out into the grass. Will that be a yellow? Another car off in the background there. Was that Jonathan no, it wasn't. There was a yellow car off in the background. There's the yellow, though. Oh, come on, boys.
Yeah, so what happened here, Connery, is Caleb, again, he just wasn't able to keep the car down on that inside lane, and Henry Bennett kept that outside lane chugging, tried to keep his momentum up, but then suddenly he got spun around by that car of Caleb Weekly, and I believe, was that Hans Pitkinen that came in afterwards? Yeah, so Pitkinen, in a sort of sympathy spin, I think probably just got on the brakes a little bit to try and avoid the smoke that he saw, and in turn it just upset the car and he spun around there.
Let's have a look on it.
Yeah, just right on exit there.
Not at all related, and it would have been a bit weird if that was the incident that caused the caution and not the big one with involving Henry Bennett. And, well, he's got a very, very damaged car now. He's able to get it back going, and, well, he's actually able to get it back down towards the pit lane. But we'll have to see how healthy that car is when he does come out. But we've got Joshua Chin in, we've got Jamie Wilson in, so the two Chimera cars that were at the very front of the field, they have decided that they want to come down in for the fuel and the tyres. Aiken also coming down in as well. Simmons, however, stayed out. Same with Egan, same with the Ville, and same with Grandi. So at least three of the drivers that we saw trying to make progress in that green flag run deciding to stay out.
Yeah, and I like this call from the drivers who stayed out because they're only 16 laps into the tires, and I think that definitely Josh Chin and all the drivers who hadn't come down pit lane, they definitely had to come down 50 laps into this stint, regardless of how much yellow we've had so far. Chin, Wilson, and company were all sort of backed into a corner at this point. They simply had to come down pit lane a quarter of the way through this race.
So, yeah, we are a quarter of the way through at the moment. Things going relatively slowly due to the amount of laps that we've had under caution. We would have thought that the first flurry of them would be the end of it, but unfortunately, that's not the case. We've had quite a high rate of attrition here, actually. We've got, many damaged cars down on towards the pit lane. We've got Jack Turner. He's been able to get himself back out there, albeit a good number of laps down. But we've got ourselves, let's see, well, Jack Turner's 3 laps down. We'll have 12 cars running, I would have thought, here in this situation of 20. And we haven't even got half the race done yet. Yep, 12 cars it is, and I think Jack Turner, he probably does have a little bit of that suspension damage we were talking about under the previous cautions, where that incident between himself as well as Cameron Dance and Julian Altena, it caused a little bit more damage than he was hoping for, so that's what's put him 3 laps down. But the fact that he's running, I mean, with the rate of attrition that we've got, he's on pace for a top 10 here. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone still running's on pace for a top 10 here, given the set of circumstances that we have. Phil, especially if those drivers are usually towards the back of the grid, then today might end up being a very, very good points day for them. So every cloud has a silver lining, and we'll see who benefits the most out of this one. These guys coming up across the line now. Will we see the pace car lights go out this time around? Yes, we will. So that is indeed the 1 to go signal. So the roles are kind of been reversed a little bit here between the cars that we saw on fresh rubber and cars on older tires. Yeah, everything's been turned on their head. So this time Simmons, Egan, Laville, Grandi are the ones that are going to have to be defending. Although their delta works a lot more in their favor than it worked for the last particular stint. Yeah, and this is going to be a very intriguing stint for me, Connery, simply because this is the first time we're going to see how those Chimera cars really work in traffic. And will Josh Chin be able to work his way back towards the front of the pack, or will Logan Simmons, now that he has clean air, really be able to sort of stamp his authority on this race? So this is going to be a very telling stint as we see a couple of drivers just coming out of the pit lane after filling up with 1 to go there. To get this race back underway with a new race leader of Logan Simmons. The run has been, stopped in terms of lead laps. Simmons will be able to get those under his belt now. Green flag here on the way down in towards turn number 1. Ethan Hagen's second place. Lucas LaFille trying to fend off Mike Grandi for that final step of the podium. But there's a good couple of hard charges behind these guys. Joshua Chin, who led the early going, he's going to be wanting to make short work of these cars, and in fact he's already got himself towards the inside of Mike Grandi. And oh, did he touch the apron? Good save! My word, Joshua Chin, how have you been able to hold on to that? I don't know. Almost a massive unforced error.
Josh Chin must be absolutely breathless at this point, because that save, I can't believe that we are not under another caution here after that there, Connery, because that car was basically perpendicular to the track, and kudos to the other drivers as well for avoiding it. Not just Josh for saving it, but the other drivers somehow all stayed out of the fence there.
Well, we'll get to see, well, not quite a first-person view of it, but the best that we can get. On the way down in towards turn number 1's not the issue. It's down through 3 and 4. Once he's got this run down the back straight on Grandi, moves down towards the inside, and we've seen this catch out so many cars. Getting loose on the inside, getting 2 tires onto that curb, but just so dangerous and well held, and like you pointed out, well avoided from everyone behind.
Jamie Wilson in particular nearly got into the back of his teammate there, and he got very close to the outside wall as well. So unfortunately that the 2 Chimera drivers are the 2 drivers who got the worst end of that incident there. As we watch Jamie, in fact, here you can see he takes a hard right turn and somehow was able to keep that car out of the wall. That was great avoiding action.
Yeah, well, it was close to making contact with the car, and then the second issue there for Jamie Wilson would have been a slide from the overcorrection, and then having his own little instant, or just trying to avoid it so much with that right-hand turn that he grazes the wall on the on driver's right-hand side. But he was able to avoid all of that and keep himself in this race. That is that's an impressive bit of driving, every bit as impressive as the save that we saw from Chin.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely fantastic, and you can see that Jamie Wilson's gotten right back to work. He is all over the back of, I believe that is Robert Grosser right in front of him. So he is not letting that moment affect him, and he is right back with the bit between his teeth.
Yep. No one stops the King of Chins that easily, as we see Joshua Chin there back through the field. He's not the one actively fighting at the moment, so he's going to work his way back through. The Jamie Wilson was the car that we were talking about. That's on the back of Robert Grosser, looking to try and, well, find his way through on a little bit of recovery after that one. Well, I think he has to try and work on getting his heart rate down first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the type of thing where you just get sort of almost an adrenaline rush out of it, and you need to calm the heart rate down. You need to calm your mind down because it's going 1,000 miles an hour. You're on hyper alert, and you just need to sort of get back into your normal driving state here. Meanwhile, while Wilson is trying to get around Robert Grosser, Grosser's right on the back of Mike Grandi as well. So we got a nice little battle here for that 4th position.
This is a Mike Grandi on slightly older tyres. Ooh, a bit of a twitch from Andrew Aiken on the background. Careful to keep hold. Well, very well to keep hold of that car, in fact. And well, Grosser about half a lane to a lane up, trying to find where he can try and get through here on Mike Grandi. Although he has to be conscious about that Team Chimera car of Jamie Wilson behind. That's, at least in clear air, I would say has the pace advantage over both of these two.
Yeah, it absolutely does. You can tell that the Team Chimera car is set up really well here today, and they are definitely both looking very racy here. You can tell just how close these drivers are, and it's inches between some of these moves. And Robert Grosser finally looking to the inside of Mike Grandi, but the problem is, will he be able to clear them in one? It looks like Grandi's going to try and stay on that high side, but Grosser does finally get him cleared, and Jamie Wilson is going to try and follow suit here as well.
Wilson has the overlap, has the speed, and is able to complete the pass. coming through 3 and 4. Fantastic stuff, making short work of that traffic. It's a little bit of a break now before both Grosser and Wilson are able to get onto the back of Lucas Laville. There's about a 16 lap difference in terms of the tyre age at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean tyre performance once you factor in cautions and things like that. So it's all a little bit more complicated than at first look. But Grosser and Wilson looking to try and make good progress here. They are about a second behind Laville in the podium spots.
And of course, fresh tires is one thing, but having clean air is also another thing. So those 3 up front, they all have that benefit of having that nice clean air in front of them. And they are not letting Logan Simmons get very far in front of them, both about 2/10 of a second. As we saw Mike Grandy actually dropping back there. Not sure what happened to him.
Not sure. Now Chen is going to take the fight to Andrew Aitken. Not quite going to get the line required coming through the middle of the corner there, as we'll see potentially a swap ahead of these guys as Wilson in the other Chimera car decides to go onto the offensive. It's Chimera versus Vortex on the way through towards the exit of turn 4. They're absolutely level at the start-finish line. If we get a finish like that at the checkered flag, then I would be a very happy bunny indeed. But we're still quite far away from that point. Another little moment coming off of turn 2. I've seen a lot of these cars on the inside washed up a little bit too far for my liking coming out of 2.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do. This track, it almost invites the car to wash out on the exit of turn 2, particularly if you're on that low lane. So you really have to be on top of your car and manage that, because the driver on the outside, he has that right to be there. He has the right to carry that momentum and to keep it going. But you can see sort of the weird contour that it has. If you're on that low line, you basically don't have anything to slide up into, whereas if you're on that outside, the banking, it continues on that outside lane just that little bit longer and allows you to keep that momentum up. So it's sort of a unique aspect to this track where you really don't want to be on that inside lane on the exit of 2.
Wilson continuing to pile on the pressure onto the back of Grosser, but Grosser is dealing with it quite well at the moment. Behind the wheel of that Vortex number 6. Both of them trying to catch the Vortex teammate a bit further down the road. They've gained about a 1/10 of a second since I last double-checked the gaps. So they are slowly but surely closing their way in on the front 3. So it's not necessarily just Laville they're closing in on. They're closing in on all of the front 3 of Simmons, Aitken, and Laville. So once that comes to a head, we'll have to see what sort of fireworks we get then. And we're still quite a ways away from getting green flag stops as well. The guys that did stay out, they're on 37 laps of their stint. We expect around 60 for a full green flag run.
Yeah, and Grosser's right on the edge of really starting to feel the effects of the draft, and in fact, he might just be starting to break through, and I think once he does, he's going to be able to draft right up onto the back of his teammate in front of him. So I think we're right on the cusp of it, going from a 3-car pack and a 4-car pack to one big 7-car pack at the front of this field. Meanwhile, if you're curious, it looks like we have a big breakaway, but in the back of this field, Henry Bennett is still not having a good day, and there's speculation at this point that he has some damage to that car. We saw him take a number of sort of longer pit stops, and I suspect that there's something seriously wrong with that power slide car, because we don't normally see him this far off the pace on any track, let alone an oval. Yeah,
he's been in the wars a little bit as well, which is certainly not going to help. We saw some really major suspension damage after his big incident. I'm surprised he's able to wheel that car around the corners as effectively as he is doing. Of course, not as fast as we usually see him, of course. However, he can continue to log the laps here. He can continue to try and gain positions off of those cars that will have worse fortunes a little bit later on. So he can recover a good couple of points. The day's not over for Henry Bennett. It's just a lot more difficult.
And it's one of those days that the drivers sort of hate to have to face, because you know that you don't have the car anymore to compete for the win, so you have to find a way to keep yourself motivated for the rest of this race, and we're not even at the halfway point in this race yet, so he's got a long day ahead of him.
Lucas Laville able to gain the position over Ethan Egan into second place, while this is going on behind him. Joshua Chin to the inside of Robert Grosser, slides it up and takes the position away, or at least, well, at least for now. Grosser, is there a response? No, he's just going to chill there just for a moment, looking towards the outside.
And Chin is really on the move here, Connery, because he got, not only did he just get by Grosser, but he also got by his teammate, because about 3 laps ago, he was behind Jamie Wilson. So it looks like it's go time for that number 93 Team Chimera car.
That does seem to be the case. Now it's Jamie Wilson's turn to try and get past that vortex number 6. Down in towards turn 3, and well, let's see if he's able to do it as effectively as Chin was able to. Look how closely he follows off the corner there. It does seem that as these runs go on, those Chimera cars just keep getting stronger and stronger. We saw them have a pretty good amount of pace in the early stages. It's just it seems like the differential between the Chimera and, for example, the Vortex cars just gets bigger as the run goes on.
Yes, it does. It definitely looks like the Chimera cars have that long run pace and long run potential, but we've got a move for the lead here. Laville's gotten around Ethan Egan, and now he's looking for Logan Simmons, and he might just have it here coming into 1.
Here we go, Laville towards the inside. Simmons with a big run of speed, but it's too much. He's in the wall.
No.
He grazes it and brings that car to a slow crawl. Does not cause the caution to come out. He's going to pull down towards the inside here, get it down on towards the pit lane. That was a big error from the number 92, who's led pretty much all of this stint.
Yeah, such an unfortunate but unforced error there from Logan Simmons, and he had been doing so good, qualified obviously on that front row, had been in that second place for so long, and then honestly, I think he just carried too much speed for this point in the run. We talked about the tires going away, and I just think that he got up there, tried to get back to the throttle a little too early, and then just ran out of room. And you can see that safer barrier. It does jut out just a little bit, and I think that's all that it took for Logan Simmons, and it was a small mistake that has cost him dearly.
Oh, and has Ethan Egan had a little bit of an issue here as well? No, he's it just was a weird, pretty awkward camera placement on our part. He's still very much inside of this train. That's yeah, today's been the day of unforced errors, it seems. We've seen a good couple of cars hit the curb on the insides of 3 and 4. We've seen a couple of spins here and there, and now we've seen an overzealous entry to the corner and too much speed carried through that results in wall contact off of exit for Logan Simmons. And well, we've still got over half this race to go, so won't be the only one to do an unforced error once again.
Yeah, lots of errors here today, Connery, but look at who is leading this race right now. It is your number 1 car, the champion, Lucas Laville. And it doesn't surprise me that in a race as chaotic as this one has been, that a driver like Lucas Laville rises to the top, because he thrives in coming through the chaos unscathed.
Yep, and well, starting to try to charge away at the very front of the field. Here's Wilson and Robert Grosser continuing on their battle. Wilson trying to do what his teammate did just a couple of laps ago in terms of this pass, but it's going to get a little close off of the exit there, and well, Grosser's going to get a little bit of a run here down the back straight, and he's able to get clear by the time the entry to turn 3 arrives, and all this just allows Egan to get another tenth of a second on them.
Yeah, and you saw Josh Chin darting to the inside there. That wasn't him trying to pass Lucas Laville. That was him trying to give a little bit of a draft to his teammate there. So a little bit of team tactics being played by the Chimera drivers, but it was all in vain, and Grosser has maintained that 3rd position, and Wilson just simply cannot solve the riddle that is Robert Grosser the way that Josh Chin has. But I will say one thing about this run for Grosser is Robert Grosser, out of all the CIS drivers, he's needed this run more than any other driver, because he has had such an unlucky season to date so far, Connery. Oh, Wilson loose.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And we're only 35 laps in the stint, so it's around about halfway. Yeah, if we're having performance problems at the rear at this point, then that's a big problem. Hopefully that's not an overall trend for Wilson, and it's something that can be fixed either by a change of driving style or some in-car adjustments. If it is the rear tires starting to go away already, that's, yeah, he's in it for the long haul.
Yeah, and what that probably was, Connery, was if you downshift, you can get a little bit more rotation to the car with the higher revs. So that was probably Wilson trying to get as much of a run as he could coming out of the corner. He downshifted, and the car just rotated more than he was expecting. So that's probably something that you can fix with just, as you say, a little shift in driving style or a little bit of a in-car tool adjustment. So hopefully Wilson will be able to stay on top of that and we won't have another caution. But so far, we've had a nice long green flag run going here.
We have lap 87 to 200, so we still have not reached the halfway point at the moment. We have actually, I believe, just sneaked our way over halfway in terms of time. We're actually 5 minutes away from that. So you can see in the top left when we put the timer on. This race is also, run to time as well. So we have a 2-hour time limit to get 200 laps done in on. If we can't get 200 laps done in 2 hours, well, it will be based on the time. So whatever lap the clock runs out on, that will be the final lap, no matter how many we have to go. So that's something to keep in mind here, because if we get a couple more yellows, then potentially that might factor in.
Yeah, but so far, at least, it seems like we have gotten the yellows out of our system for now, and hopefully we can just keep this nice and clean and green to the end. But one thing I want to say looking at this group here, Connery, is Ethan Egan. He lost about 3 positions in 1 or 2 laps, but ever since that point, he's just been able to stay right on the back of Robert Grosser and Jamie Wilson here. So he's on the older tires 56 laps into his stint at this point. So that's some really positive news for Ethan Egan in terms of his race, being on those older tires and still being able to stay with these drivers in front of him.
Indeed. So, yeah, positive sign there for Ethan Egan. But the thing is, due to being on the largest stint in terms of laps at the moment, he'll have to come down in sooner for his green flag pit stop compared to Wilson and Grosser ahead and Chin further down the road. So that's the penalty that he takes, so to speak. But we'll have to see how that one turns out. The guys that did stay out on that last caution, well, they're coming towards the end of their stint now. Lucas Laville's on 58 laps. He currently leads this race, 7/10 of a second ahead of Joshua Chin. It's been a very, very good stint indeed for Lucas Laville. It's he charged his way up towards the front and has maintained the gap somewhat back to Chin, despite about a 15-lap difference in tyres.
Yeah, clean air can do wonders for a driver and his tires, and I think that's what you're seeing with Laville, is just taking advantage of that clean air. And you mentioned the penalty of having to come down pit lane sooner for Laville and Egan, but the flip side of that, Connery, is that they're going to have fresh tires for about 15 laps, while all of these drivers are sort of coming towards the ends of their stint. So if it stays green for the entire green flag cycle, they could come out smelling like roses at the end of this.
Yeah, because these guys, they're currently running, track temperature hasn't wavered since the very start of the race. It's still at that 49 degrees Celsius. Drivers' best laps have been 126.8s, 126.9s. They're currently running not 126, 26.8s, 26.9s. If they're running 126s, that's a big problem. They're currently running 27.3s. So they're about half a second off of their fastest lap times, coming towards the end of these stints here. So that's what the drivers will be gaining on the undercut potentially once these pit stops happen.
And if you extrapolate that out over 10 laps, half a second a lap, that could be as much as 5 seconds that these drivers could have an advantage over. But here we actually have a move on track. It looks like Jamie Wilson taking a look under Robert Grosser once again. He's just not able to get that move completely cleared by the next corner, and he's got to have to find a way to do that because Grosser just, again, sticks it out on that outside lane and is able to make that car stick and keep his momentum up, and then Wilson just inevitably has to fall back in line again.
Yeah, that car's really working in turn 1 and 2, in that defensive sort of half a lane to a lane up the circuit. That Vortex car seems absolutely hooked up. But Wilson's got a good run out of turn 4 here. This is probably one of his best chances of getting this one done. Careful with the wash up. They both have to get out of it. Side by side coming down the back straight now. Is Wilson clear? I think he is. And now this might open the door for Egan to head his way down the inside.
A little bit of self-preservation there from Robert Grosser. I think he saw just how much Jamie Wilson was willing to risk there, and he smartly got out of that, living to fight another day and potentially come back at him at a later point in time. But he's not letting Ethan Egan get around him, and he's back up to his old defense there. So definitely Grosser is not giving up by any stretch of the imagination. He's still right on the back of Jamie Wilson.
Is, and well, this battle continuing on. Lap number 99 of 200. We are just a lap away from getting ourselves towards the halfway points of this MKT Manufacturing and Aero X Indy 250. We've got still a lot of running to go here in this one. Field starting to spread out a little bit as well, as we see potentially green flag stops. Here we go.
Yep.
Ethan Egan.
LaVille's in.
Yep, LaVille is also in, so right slap bang at the halfway point, we're seeing our first sets of green flag stops of the day.
And that was almost a 65-lap stint from LaVille and Egan, so they should be able to do much shorter stints going forward here. Should be a 50-lap stint and a 50-lap stint if we stay green for both of these drivers. So definitely no fuel concerns from here for either of these drivers going forward.
Absolutely not. Up and down on the jacks as well, waiting for the rest of that fuel to go in. And off and away goes Lucas LaVille. 11.4 seconds on his stop. Ethan Egan a bit faster by 0.3. That's 11.1 on his stop as he negotiates the exit of pit lane. So these guys will have a pretty healthy undercut on these drivers ahead, like we were mentioning before the stops. Joshua Chin, Jamie Wilson, are still, you know, potentially might be out there for another 10 laps before they think about heading their way down in. This will give us a very, very good opportunity to go over the sponsors of today's event. This race has been sponsored by MKT Manufacturing. They are a manufacturer of premier foundation equipment and was founded to meet the pile driving and drilling equipment needs of their customers who build the foundation of the nation's future. As partners with our customers, we strive to deliver on time, high quality, top performing and cost effective equipment for them to do their job well. That's MKT Manufacturing, available. We can go to their website, that's mktisleman.com. This race is also brought to you, of course, by Extreme Scoring as well. They're the sponsor of this entire series. They are a replacement league software. If you're familiar with Dan Lisa, then this is sort of the new modern equivalent to that. So that's Extreme Scoring 2.0. You can check them out at extremescoring.info. Don't forget, we also have the Classic IndyCar Series Patreon as well. We can get ourselves that up onto the screen right now, and you can see those drivers that have donated a little bit to the running of this fantastic series. You know, it's been one of the series that we've had for quite a while here on RaceSpotTV, and it's great to see it's getting support from its members. The Classic IndyCar Series does have, of course, its own Patreon page in an effort to create some fundings for the league. Josh Baird has created and overlaid the names of the patron who should receive a shout out during the race. That's what you see on the bottom right hand side, excuse me. Platinum drivers who are racing should get extra attention as well. A lot of them actually aren't in this race, so we haven't really been able to give them all that much attention, but there are their names down in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you do want to support the Classic IndyCar Series, then of course head over to Patreon and drop them a couple of bucks. So that's our half the race done, half the race to go, and still waiting on those thoughts from Chin, Wilson, and Co.
Absolutely, and I've been monitoring the times both for Laville and Josh Chin, and I can tell you that Lucas Laville has been going about 3 to 4 tenths a lap quicker than Josh Chin. And so it's actually been a little bit surprising for me that Chin hasn't tried to come into the pits at this point, because he is definitely losing time to Lucas Laville over the course of this undercut.
Yeah, he is, and well, at least for the initial portions of the next stint, Lucas Laville will be the driver that has all sorts of track position over those cars that have continued to remain out there for now. Yes, Chin and Wilson and Grosser will have the fresher tyres for that final stint. However, if a caution does come out relatively early on in that final stint, maybe not straight away, but maybe after 20, 25 laps or so, that will really play into the hands of Laville.
Absolutely it will. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these dueling strategies play out. It can get confusing at times when you have the middle of a pit cycle like we're in now, but we definitely can assure you viewers that it is Chin and Laville who are really running for the lead of this race right now, and this is something that you don't see very often. Henry Bennett is about to be lapped by Josh Chin.
Let's have a look at it. There we go. There is Joshua Chin. And there is Henry Bennett, just at the very edge of the screen on the left-hand side. And in fact, we won't see the lapping procedure here, Andrew, because Joshua Chin is heading his way down on towards the pit lane. So we might have a bit of an iconic moment of P1 in the championship lapping P2 in the championship, but we'll be denied that for now, as Chin has decided to head his way down and in. Wilson and Grosser, however, he decided to stay out.
Yeah, so the play for Wilson and Grosser is they're basically taking the long view of this, and they're going to shorten up their final 2 stints a little bit and use that. I think Grosser should be coming down this time by. Wilson will go one more, but this is what's going to be very telling here is, will Josh Chin somehow be able to come out in front of Lucas Laville, or how big the margin will it be for Lucas Laville over Josh Chin here?
Well, the car of Lucas Laville. There is Laville heading his way down in towards turn number 1 now. Joshua Chin is going to lose the race lead, of course, but like you said, it's by how much? What's the gap visually? Well, you can see it right there on your screens now. Gap sort of will level out about 1.6, 1.7, maybe even 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, so Chin was about 8 tenths of a second back, so he lost about a second throughout that pit cycle. So not as bad as it could have been for that number 3 Team Chimera driver, and it's definitely a gap that is manageable for Chin and something that he is more than capable of overcoming, but probably also less than he was hoping for as well.
It does mean that, well, driver that has stayed out, Jonathan Diggs, he'll get himself at least 1 lead lap under his belts here. We've got, car that's actually a lap down, sort of kind of passing at the, trying to pass him at the moment, but there we go, Jonathan Diggs heading his way down and in. This will result in Lucas Laville re-inheriting the, inheriting the race lead, not re-inheriting. But yeah, let's see what Joshua Chin can do now on the 11 lap newer tyres. Stretch that across a 50 to 60 lap stint. That's going to end up being quite a bit of a gain, potentially.
It is, and one other thing to note here, Connery, is look at, there's a car, a lapped car in between Lucas Laville and Josh Chin, and if I'm not mistaken, that is Franz Josef Stum, who happens to be Lucas Laville's teammate.
Let's hope no... well, let's hope everything is sportsmanlike and no shenanigans happen here, although we'll have to see. But Joshua Chin, he's eventually going to be aware of that, so he'll treat it with all the respect that it deserves.
And sorry, I stand corrected. Franz Josef Stum is on Aero X this season, not on Vortex, so no longer teammates with Lucas Laville.
There we go. So just throw what I said out the window then. There we go. It's going to be potentially quite a simple procedure for Joshua Chin to try and get done. Stum, he did come down in around about the same time as Joshua Chin, so still on the same tyre performance, albeit that one lap down. And here comes the traffic here for Chin as well, as that's Jack Turner heading his way towards the outside. He's not going to be a factor here in this one. Stum might still be, though.
Yeah, he's certainly not making it easy here for Josh Chin. But that being said, Chin has used Stum to close up on the back of Lucas Laville. That 1.7 second gap, that's now gone, and it's back down to just 0.7 of a second. So Laville is not going off into the distance by any stretch of the imagination here. And finally, it does look like Stum gets out of the way for Josh Chin.
Makes that pass look easy. Gap down to 0.7 of a second, heading their way across the line now between Laville and Chin. It's a further 4 seconds all the way back to Jamie Wilson. So Wilson's lost out quite a bit in terms of this one. Ethan Egan didn't have the most fantastic stop either. He still remains in P4 on those 18-lap old tyres. There's Robert Grosser, who's continuing on with his decent event in 5th place, with Andrew Aitken in 6th. Why not? Let's just recap the field. There's not many of them running, actually. As Mike Granzi in P7. Franz Joseph Stum, the lapped car that might have been a bit of a concern. It turned out not to be a concern. He's in 8th place with Jonathan Diggs in 9th place. Henry Bennett continuing on the recovery drive. He's been able to get it inside the top 10, however. So still a decent number of points for the 007. Jack Turner in 11th place with, well, that's going to be it. 11 cars still running here. We've had Logan Simmons as a retirement, Caleb Weekley, Hannes Pickman, Julian Altena, Cameron Dance, Jan Hoffman, Jack Stiles, Mr. Ilya Olia, and Andrew Edersones as retirements from this event. So we basically got half the cars still running when we started.
And as we're going through the field, I'm noticing the big loser from that pit cycle there, Connery, was Robert Grosser. He was battling with Jamie Wilson for that 3rd position prior to the whole cycle, and now he is well behind both Wilson and Ethan Egan. So definitely something went wrong for Grosser during that whole cycle of pit stops there.
You see the positions gained on the left-hand side of your screen. Laville charging up six spots from where he started, up into P1, but you can see Joshua Chin ever present, ever stalking, and on the fresher tyres to have the upper hand into this battle. Further back to the field, you got Grosser. Despite those pit stop issues, he's still up 7 spots on the day. Same with Mike Grandy as well. Stum's up 9 spots. Diggs, Bennett all have benefited out of the attrition rate here today. So can't really complain.
Here comes Chin.
Yeah, can't really complain about that at all. But Chin, like you said, potentially might have himself a decent run imminently over Lucas Laville. He can't rush this one though, lest he ends up in the wall somewhere.
Yeah, but you could see Chin is really trying to focus on the corner exits, and that's how you have to make a pass happen here at Gateway. Is you have to find a way to carry more speed out of the corner than your opponent, and then truly get alongside him before the next corner even happens, and then hopefully you can make the pass happen and slide up by the exit of turn 2 or turn 4. Because if you don't, we've seen it a number of times, if you can't clear them by the exit of the corner, you're going to lose all of your momentum, and it's going to be very difficult to complete the pass.
Chin's not going to choose to use the run that he got out of 2 there, looking for a little bit of a more obvious opportunity to try and work his way by. It's a 5-second advantage back to Jamie Wilson in the other Chimera machines, so it's we're not getting pressure from behind either, so Chin can in some ways afford to take his time over this pass and make sure it's done in the proper fashion, although Grosser and Egan are giving themselves a little bit of a fight back there.
Yeah, Robert Grosser was able to just get around Ethan Egan, and of course Egan's on that same strategy as your leader Lucas Laville with the older tires, so Grosser taking advantage of those newer tires, and it's fascinating to see the sort of yo-yo effect that you get with these 2 different fuel strategies. Different drivers are fast at different points in the run, so it produces a very interesting effect on this race.
America's looking strong once again, middle of the stint as well. Well, not even quite in the middle of the stint yet. We're starting to get there, but at this period it seems like they are relatively unbeatable, but Leville keeping Chin behind in a quite competent fashion for now. Towards the outside from turn 3, or at least a slightly different line there for Chin. Trying to diamond off, get the speed off the corner. Try and get the traction as well. Slipstreaming all the while, but playing the patience game.
And you see Chin just ducking out just a little bit and taking a different line to Lucas Leville, and that's very important in an IndyCar, but particularly in this generation of IndyCars, because you don't have the benefits of the underbody downforce. So those wings that you see on these cars, those really are most of the downforce that you get. So you really need to make sure that you're getting fresh air onto those wings if you're Josh Chin, in order to stay as close as he is to Lucas Leville.
See, he's able to carry a lot more mid to exit speed than what Leville is able to manage for the moment, but Chin hasn't been able to do anything about it for the moment. Again, another little escapade into the middle of the track for Chin as Leville locks down that lower line. But again, still is in a pretty comfortable spot. Leville hasn't been phased by any of these looks whatsoever that Chin has been pulling off of him. Sometimes it's a little bit distracting seeing that driver behind you run those different lines. You're always worried that they're going to get a monster run off the corner, but it's not coming to fruition at the moment for Chin.
And I do think some of this is a little bit strategic from Josh, because the more he can save fuel here in behind Lucas Leville running like this, shorter his final stint is going to be, and the easier it is going to be for him to get around Leville, because quite simply he's going to have lighter fuel, he's not going to be putting as much energy through the tires, and he's going to have fresher tires compared to Leville. So I definitely think this is sort of big picture driving from Josh Chin.
And both of them are still, if not maintaining, then gaining slightly in terms of time over Jamie Wilson behind as well. So it's working out in both of their favors at the moment. There's Jamie Wilson, potentially going to be dealing with a little bit of traffic in the moment, and well, Grosser and Egan, they are currently involved in the traffic. So with Henry Bennett, I believe, in the middle there. So that's a situation that they'll have to negotiate.
Yeah, Bennett and Diggs have been going at each other one lap down, and that's put Grosser and Egan in a little bit of a bind. Particularly Egan just hasn't been able to get away past these lapped cars at this point. But you mentioned Wilson. He's been dealing with those lapped cars for a long time, and he also has been sort of stuck behind Franz Josef Stum and Jack Turner, and he just hasn't been able to do anything with them, and that's really why he's following off the back of Chin and Leville. Meanwhile, Chin to the inside of Leville through turn 3 and 4.
Back to the race lead for the King of Chins on the way on towards lap number 134. Leville, half a lane to the inside still, but I would expect Chin to be able to pull away a little bit more effectively here in this instance. We'll wind things back to see exactly how that happened and how Chin got himself the run. That's maybe a little bit too, well, not far back enough. It'll be a run off of turn 2, it seems like, for Joshua Chin that results in the pass.
And that's what we were seeing with that onboard look that we've been having with Josh Chin, is he really seemed to be getting a good run out of turn 2, and finally he just had enough momentum to really know that he could make it work. And that was the important part for Chin, was completing it in one set of corners, because if he hadn't done that, Leville would have been able to fight back on that outside lane and potentially still be in the lead of this race.
Leville's not going to let Chin run away that easily, though, I get the feeling, especially with how close he's following on the way through turn 1 and 2. So, Leville, you know, if he can just not let Chin pull away here, that would still be a relatively decent result for him. At least coming into the last stop, or well, I was going to say last stops, but it is indeed last stop, singular. With regards to this one, because we'll be a couple of laps away from being able to make it on one stop.
Yeah, absolutely. This is as long as Leville is within striking distance of Chin, because keep in mind he's probably going to have that undercut again. So if he does get a few laps in clean air on fresh tires, he can still snatch the lead back from Josh Chin. The question is, when does Leville come down pit lane? If you're Lucas Leville, do you want to stretch this stint out as long as he can, or do you want to come in a little bit earlier and try and work that undercut. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, again, only Laville knows at the moment, and maybe a couple of people behind the scenes at that Vortex Sim Racing team outfit. How do they manage this race from this point forwards? Because it is basically, as long as there's no outside influences on this battle, like a caution or anything like that, it's basically 1v1 between these two at the end, till the end right now, because Wilson's a little bit too far back at 6 seconds.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think the advantage right now has to go to Josh Chin, just simply because of where he is on the tire strategy. He'll have the fresher tires. Oh, that's Andrew Aitken in the 27 car on the exit of turn 2.
It doesn't cause a yellow to be flown, so we are still under green flag conditions. It looks like a solo car incident for Andrew Aitken. He's going to be our potential 11th, 10th retirement of the day. Let's see. Oh, just gets loose off the corner.
Yeah, we've seen this story before. Hans Pitkänen had a very similar incident earlier on in this race as well. And yeah, it's so easy to do here because, again, the exit of 2, it's a very strange set of banking that you have to go through and negotiate, and it upsets the rear of your car, and that's just what happened with Aitken. He wasn't able to save it because once you hook it around like that, it's basically a one-way ticket to that inside wall.
So 60 to go. That's basically it. Confirms that we can get it done with another pit stop, another green flag stop, potentially, or yellow flag. It could also happen like that as well. But ideally, another green flag stop, and then we'll get ourselves towards the checkered flag. And, well, Chin's been unable to break away here. That kind of makes sense, given that these guys were relatively close in terms of pace, and, well, due to the fact that Laville now has a whole bunch of slipstream helping him out and not allowing Chin to get away, although he is burning up his tyres a little bit more due to that dirty air.
He is indeed. But the one thing he is able to do behind Josh Chin, particularly this close to Josh Chin, is save fuel. Just like Chin was able to do earlier, this could be extending the stint that little bit more that Lucas Laville needs to have the fresh enough tires to really fight with Chin on the final stint. So I think it's a little bit strategic from Laville at this point, just as it was for Chin earlier, to stay behind that number 93 Team Chimera car.
Kind of want to listen to the engine notes here for a moment. He's getting these launches off the corner thanks to the slipstream, lifting out maybe a tad, just to make sure that those fuel numbers are in the right place.
Yeah, you could definitely hear the coast phase, but in these cars, it's much later on in the corner. It's almost like you turn in and then you coast and allow the car to scrub off the speed through the wheel input, and then you get back, modulate the throttle coming on the exit of 2. So it's a little bit of a different technique than you see in the real world, where they're backing off the throttle sort of much earlier on the straightaway.
By the way, there are a couple of other battles sort of brewing. Of course, you have Wilson and Grosser. They're about 0.8 of a second apart at the moment. They are the sort of second closest battle out there on circuit, and even then they're not that close. Here we go, battle for the race lead. Just as we look away from it here, Andrew, they decide to go at it. Lucas Laville and Joshua Chin wheel to wheel, coming out of turn number 4. Laville attempting to get back towards the pointy end of the field, and, well, there he goes. Sends it down the inside. Chin will let it happen. Looks to try and get the speed off, though.
And slow in, fast out is often very important here, particularly in turns 1 and 2, and that's exactly what Josh Chin did, and he used that over-under sort of maneuver to great effect, and he's right back in the lead of this race.
There you go. There's the response from Joshua Chin. It was an interesting decision there for Lucas Laville. We were all just sitting here just thinking, oh, he's just going to sit behind and wait until these next stops and make sure that he can save a bit of fuel so that he doesn't have to put as much in the pit stop, because the fuel does take slightly longer than the tires here. These guys, if you're unfamiliar with them, so if you can try and get rid of that extra couple of seconds, then that's going to be massively beneficial for you in a stop time. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see, because it was sort of the typical up and under the move that we saw. You called it correctly there, Andrew. Laville sent it in a little bit too hard. Chin let it happen. Chin snuck up back on the inside again.
And that's the beauty of oval racing, Connery, is it's all so cerebral. And as a driver, you have to be thinking about that as you're going 190 miles an hour into some of these corners. So you have to be able to process things so fast and develop your strategy and develop your responses on the fly. And that's really where the beauty of oval racing is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I used to race in it a lot. I even did Indy Fixed a lot. Believe it or not, it was years and years and years ago. Now it was back when I think it was the DW12 like came out. Like sort of that season is when I got like super into it. So yeah, that's at least my experience with cars of this ilk. Of course, not this exact car. It's a little bit before my time.
But regardless of what generation of open wheel car it is, it requires similar skill sets and similar mindsets, and it really, when you do it on the sim, it really gives you an appreciation of just how much you have to be thinking all the time. And it's not just simply turning left, as many road racers will try and tell you.
Oh yeah, certainly not. It's most road races would have just seen Daytona or Talladega in the NASCAR. I think it's all like that, but. Yeah, especially when you get to a circuit such as this one. In the Indy cars, it's pretty tricky. In the stock cars, it's also really, really tricky as well. Requires a lot of skill, even though you are indeed turning one direction. And but you also, you get to play around a lot more in terms of the strategies as well, because you just have so many more stops. And of course, the options to take no tires, 2 tires in the NASCARs anyway. As well, you wouldn't really do that here in these Indy cars, but the ability to try and play around with the strategy is certainly one of the big draws.
Absolutely, strategy is a draw, and then when you get into a top level race like this one, where you have 2 very, very skilled and very equal drivers, it's almost like they're dancing a little bit. Oh, as Laville gets very close to the wall coming out of turn 1 there, hopefully he was able to stay off that safer barrier there, but. I was about to say, it's almost like dancing what Chin and Laville are doing out there right now, but it's dancing where you don't know what your partner's about to do, so it's really, really cool to be a part of a battle like this.
It really is, and well, it's been occupying the vast amount of our attention so far. Scrappy exit to the corner for Laville once again. Seems like he's starting to have problems with that exit of turn 2 now. Chin's not going to try and capitalize on it this time, but that number 93 is looking very, very strong, at least compared to the 1. But again, Chin is just taking this all in his stride at the moment.
And keep in mind that this is 57 laps into the stint for Lucas Laville, so his tires are just about at their worst. In fact, Mike Grandy, who came in a lap before Laville last time, he's down pit lane this time by, so definitely expect Laville to come in the next few laps.
Yeah, so Mike Grandy coming down in, he will be good to the end with 44 laps to go with that pit stop happening. There he is, coming off of pit lane now, 9.2 seconds on his stop, so that's around the baseline that Laville and Chin will be looking at towards the end of their stints. Laville's on 58 laps on his stint right now, and well, let's see exactly which lap he comes down in on. Would you prefer to come down in early or trying to push that stint out as much as possible here, Andrew?
I think now that we're in that sort of 40 to go range, this is where I'd be coming down if I was Lucas Laville, simply because he will get that little bit of an undercut. And because he doesn't need to do a full fuel stint, right now he's basically at a 2/3 fuel stint, that should be enough of an underfill in order to have the tires hold on a lot longer into this stint. So I think Laville is right around the right time. The question for me is, if you're Josh Chin, do you respond immediately to Lucas Leville, or do you try and go the full stint length? Because he has probably at least another 10 laps past what Leville does in terms of the ability to think, oh, it looks like Leville might be coming in this time by.
Here we go. Vortex Sim Racing car coming down, and then Joshua Chin will take the race leads. Here's the call from Lucas Leville as he heads his way down and towards the pit lane. Slight lockup is fine. Heading across between the yellow cones back to the pit lane speed limit is Lucas Leville. He's the only one down on the pit lane. No, he isn't, as Ethan Agan is also deciding to come down in now as well. So Lucas Leville looking to try and find his pit stall. Gotta make sure he nails it. Oh, he has to roll back a little bit. That's going to be a little bit of lost time there from Lucas Leville. You saw those tires roll back slightly. Gets up on the jacks now, back down. No delay in terms of coming down off the jacks and off for the way, 8.8.
It was a good stop, but a costly mistake for Lucas Leville, and you almost have to wonder if that could potentially have just cost him a shot at the win, because that was probably about a half a second to a second lost getting into his pit box there. Disastrous stop for Lucas Leville.
Yeah, and it's always those stops, isn't it? The stop where you need to get things absolutely perfect. That's the highest risk of you getting it all wrong, just because of the nerves, trying to roll, slightly further forward in your stop, and on those older tires, there's going to be a little bit less braking performance as well. So you've got to be careful, and all these things culminate in something like that happening, and then bam, like you said, half a second lost, up to a second potentially, depending on how badly he missed it. He did just have the tiniest of tiny rolls backs, so it wasn't like he catastrophically missed it, but it still all counts.
It absolutely does. And the thing is, like, even a small rollback, that's going to be, I guarantee you, at least a half a second loss. And a half a second at the speeds that these drivers are going, that's several hundred feet at that point. So even the smallest mistake is a costly one when you're driving at the speed these drivers do.
What makes it worse is that Leville is out in traffic, and it's not just any traffic, it's Team Chimera traffic of Jamie Wilson, and he can be Joshua Chin's best friend at the moment by making sure Leville doesn't get through as quickly as he can, although Leville might have been able to work his way to the inside pretty effectively here now. But he's still got Mike Grundy further down the road that he'll have to work his way through on, so this is all working out in the favor of Chin.
It absolutely is. Chin must be sitting up there with a grin as Wilson reports on Leville's progress, because Leville you can see he's going to be losing time behind these two. He just isn't able to get clear as quickly as he's hoping for, and every second that he's behind is going to be time lost to Josh Chin.
And, is he going to catch it awkwardly coming off the corner? Well, he's going to head his way down towards the inside at turn number 1 now to try and get past Mike Grandy. Get past the lap traffic. Leville is through. Now he's out into clear air, although there is a car coming off the pit lane just at the very bottom of our screen there. That might be a factor a little bit later on. But, yeah, Leville, tough pit stop sequence. The slow stop in terms of rolling through his box and having to readjust. Coming out behind a couple of pieces of lap traffic. That's all going to count towards some lost time. And it's lost time that, well, Joshua Chin currently doesn't have to deal with, as he has a lot of clean air at the front of the field as he tries to finish off the last couple of laps of his stint.
That being said, though, Connery, last time by, Lucas Leville did a 26.96 to Josh Chin's 27.26, so that's 0.3 quicker for Lucas Leville compared to Josh Chin. That is very important that he maintains that type of pace.
Yeah, it's crucial for Leville to maintain that pace. If he's able to break the slipstream once Joshua Chin comes off of pit lane... And here comes Chin. Yeah, there we go. So Chin comes down in now. If he's able to break the slipstream as Chin comes off of pit lane, out of range, that'll work out in his favor. It doesn't mean that Chin is not going to have an opportunity, because he'll have the fresher tire performance. He can catch up that gap and get back inside the slipstream. But again, if you're Lucas Leville here, you're looking for all of these little wins to be trying to go in your favor so you can get the big dub at the end of it. But 31 laps to go. Joshua Chin down and in. Does he stop in his box effectively? Yes.
Nice and smooth there from Josh Chin. And here's the next question is, LaVille was 8.8. What's the time for Josh Chin? 8.4, so that's about a half second quicker for Josh Chin in the box and a half second lost. Here's Lucas LaVille going through turns 1 and 2 though. So LaVille, despite all the time lost, he's going to get out well in front of Josh Chin here.
Yep, and Shin's got to be careful here because there's lap traffic. He might come in behind. Well, Wilson might have helped him out a little bit there in terms of lifting out so he doesn't get caught behind him, but he still has to deal with Mike Grandi. So a little bit of traffic for Chin to deal with here on his first couple of laps of this final stint. 30 to go. Gap to LaVille is 2.3.
And this is not where Josh Chin was hoping to be through that pit cycle. So it'd be interesting to see what the in-lap and out-laps were for Josh Chin compared to Lucas LaVille, because he lost more time this pit cycle than he did last pit cycle, despite LaVille making a mistake and Chin having a faster pit stop.
Yeah, and well, Chin having a way faster lane time as well. 34 seconds on the lane compared to LaVille's 35.4 seconds on the lane. So, yeah, that's maybe out and in laps are the problem there for Joshua Chin. 2 seconds is the gap now with 28 to go, and you can basically see the gap.
Absolutely can, and Josh Chin was about 1/10 of a second quicker than Lucas LaVille last time. The issue right now is that he's out of draft range from that #1 car of Lucas LaVille, so he's not getting the draft effect, and he's just not able to close fast enough. Right now, he's touch and go whether he'll even be able to make it to the back of Lucas LaVille. If all he's doing is 1/10 of a second, it'll be very, very close for Josh Chin.
It's all shaping up to be an absolutely fantastic finish here at the end of 200 laps at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. We had a little bit of a struggle with the string of yellows at the very start of this event that took out a whole bunch of cars. We basically only have half the cars still running than when we started with. However, that does not always mean we're going to get a bad race and a bad finish. Everything is shaping up to be a pretty exciting one between the Chimera car of Chin and the currently leading Vortex car of LaVille. Oh, this is going to be one for the ages, isn't it? Chin and LaVille, two legendary drivers in this series with two legendary teams as well.
Absolutely. I was going to say you couldn't have picked two better drivers to have this battle. LaVille, of course, with so much success in this series, and Chin, so much success in the Indycar in general. So very, very, very experienced, and both drivers know exactly what they need to do. The interesting thing for me right now, Connery, is looking just ahead of Lucas LaVille right now. We've got 2 lapped cars. How are they going to play into this as well?
Here's the view from Lucas LaVille. And, well, you can see just in the distance those lap cars. Had potentially a bit of an instant, though. Oh no, it's just Jonathan Diggs coming off the pit lane. I felt my heart jump a little bit there as I saw someone falling down the order and their speed not quite up to par with everyone else. But no, it was just Jonathan Diggs coming off the pit lane. But LaVille still has to consider that lap traffic ahead. And Chin is closing in bit by bit, remember. Gap down to 1.7 now. The time for LaVille across the line was a 26.93. Chin a 26.91, so a marginal gain by a couple of hundredths of a second that time. But once LaVille locks onto the back of these lapped cars, that might all change.
And it'll be a question of whether LaVille can get by them in one swoop, or whether they're going to hold him up for a longer period of time. So it's going to be... It all comes down to this for LaVille. He has to successfully negotiate this traffic if he's going to maintain that gap, because very quickly Josh Chin is going to start getting a draft, and once he gets that draft, he's going to be able to close up much, much quicker onto the back of that #1 Vortex machine.
Lucas LaVille has put in, you know, especially in that previous stint, decent defensive effort. However, how much of that was Chin just sort of parking in behind and just trying to fiddle around with the fuel and try and put himself in a good place here at the end of this event. Here's Lucas LaVille, though, catching up to the back of lap traffic. That was, I think, that's Stum on the outside. Gets well out of the way. does not become a major problem for LaVille. Next car down the road is Henry Bennett. And, well, of course, Bennett, given his second place in the championship at the moment, well, if he really wants to play the games here, he'll let LaVille through easily, and he'll cause Chin a bit of a problem if he doesn't want to lose so many points to him in the championship.
I think for Bennett at this point, his main focus is just on getting to the end with that wounded car that he has. He's only got 20 laps to go, and he's somehow miraculously still in 7th place in this race. So I think at this point, Henry's just going to take what this race has given him and run with it.
Absolutely. I like to stoke the flames by suggesting such things, though, Andrew. You'll have to learn this about me at some point. I do like to... I'm like Christian Horner in F1. It's just trying to like say things just to get people riled up.
That's fair, but I'm sure as a fellow Brit, you know that Henry's a very polite driver out on the course.
Of course. 18 laps to go, though. As we'll have to see how well-behaved or not Bennett is in terms of lap traffic. There's Chin trying to get past his own little bit of lap traffic there. He's dealing with stuff on the way down in towards turn 3. Gap 1.3 seconds now. So it's starting to get to that point now that Chin's going to start to feel the effects of the cars ahead. If LaVille can't get disposed of Bennett quickly here, then it might be a very big problem. But he does get towards the inside coming out of turn 2. Doesn't quite get clear. Actually doesn't get clear at all.
Yeah, that was actually disastrous for Lucas LaVille. I don't think that he probably was intending to try and make that pass happen, but then Henry was so slow through turn 1 and 2 that he tried. The problem was he, again, didn't have him clear by the corner exit, and that caused him to really check up, so that cost him a good 3 or 4 tenths of a second. The question is, will Henry Bennett be as accommodating when Josh Chin gets here, because Chin is quickly approaching the back end of that 007.
Go. So, lap traffic negotiated by LaVille. Don't think there's any on the horizon now that they'll have to deal with before the end of this race. Here comes Chin then, turn number 1. There's an opening on the inside that Chin might be able to slot himself through on, but not quite going to get his way through. He'll have the runner speed on the way down the back straight, and he's able to complete this, well, lapping procedure down into the back end of the course. But now gap is about 9 tenths of a second with 15 laps to go.
Well, at least you can say that Henry Bennett was consistent in his driving there, because he did the exact same thing to Josh Chin as he did to Lucas LaVille, and basically the same result was about a 2 tenths of a second loss there for Chin. But crucially for Chin, he is right on the cusp of being in the draft of Lucas LaVille. So if he can get there in the next 5 or so laps, that'll give him about 10 laps to make the pass happen. But we've seen that these cars have been so equally matched, it would not surprise me if once Chin got there, we were in for a knockdown, drag-out battle to the end.
Tension continues to build here at the Will White Technology Raceway with 13 laps to go. 200 laps of racing have potentially come down to a final flurry of action in the last couple of them. Chin getting towards, marching towards that half a second mark. He's got the carrot on the stick ahead of him now. It's all about trying to gobble it all up.
Yeah, he's well within drafting range right now, and just before he does get onto the back of Lucas LaVille, worth mentioning, Robert Grosser is in front of Jamie Wilson right now. So for that 3rd place, Robert Grosser potentially has a podium here, but he's got only 5 tenths of a second over Jamie Wilson right now. But the battle I think that we're going to focus on for these last 10 laps is between your 1st place driver Lucas LaVille and Josh Chin, as Lucas LaVille gets really high coming out of turn 2 there.
Pressure starting to tell. We saw LaVille make similar sorts of micro errors in that last stint. Sort of starting to get too over eager with the exit of turn 2. He needs to be absolutely rock solid in these final 10 laps if he's going to be able to hold on to what would be an absolutely emphatic race win here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway for round number 7 of the Classic Indycar Series Championship, powered by the Buttkicker. We're very thankful that you're all able to join us for this one, because this last 10 laps potentially might get a little bit crazy. Let's see what the end of this MKT Aero X Indy 250 has to hold.
It's going to be an exciting one here. Josh Chin, you can tell he's just stalking the back of Lucas Laville right now, measuring his prey. And we've seen this so many times from Chin. The question is, when do you make your move if you're Josh Chin? Do you make it earlier on and try and fend him off from the front, or do you sort of sit back and wait and see what happens in those last few laps? The risk, of course, with that is if you don't make your move in time and for some reason a phantom caution comes out, you risk just finishing second. So what do you do if you're Josh Chin?
Don't do that to us, Andrew. Don't say the Y word or the C word. As we got a battle for third place, by the way, Jamie Wilson and Robert Grosser. They are absolutely going at it hammer and tongs here. But the thing is, we gotta kind of push that aside for a moment because of this the importance of this battle between Laville and Chen for the race win. 7 laps to go. Chin is now within 0.2 of a second, getting good launches off of all these corners, using the slipstream to its fullest effect as well. There's a tiny bit of lap traffic further down the road that I don't think will factor in, but watch, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. 6 laps to go now. Chin stalking, but can he capitalize on any sort of move?
Vortex versus Chimera for the win here, and Vortex versus Chimera for third as well. Here comes Chin. He had a tremendous run coming out of turn 2. He's to the inside of Lucas Laville. Will he be able to clear him though in this corner? Laville hanging tough on the high side.
Chin through, and he gets clear coming off of turn number 4. Laville might have a decent run though down in towards turn number 1 if he can try and respond. It's not going to be there. However, he's going to try and get half a lane lower slightly to see if he's able to gain any sort of ground. But with 5 laps to go, Joshua Chin has taken the race lead and potentially might be on for the race win as well. I don't think this one is quite done just yet. Laville might have something else left in the tank. He has the slipstream advantage now, but does he have the performance underneath him in the car to be able to do anything in response in these final 4?
Certainly looks like Laville still wants to dance here, and he is applying all sorts of pressure to the back of that number 93 car. Look at how close they get into turn 3 there, Connery.
That got so close. Laville trying to rattle Chin's cage. He's going to get the slipstream coming off of 4 as well. All of this keeping himself in contention. If he can force Chin into an error with and try and get himself an easy move, then that might potentially be what wins Lucas Laville this race. But he was in the driving seat here. He was in the best seat in the house with regards to this final stint, although the race might have gone a couple of laps too long for him. Coming up across the line, 2 to go with Chin in the lead.
Well past the point of no return now. The next flag is going to end it. The question is, what color flag will that be? And Lucas Laville, will he be able to make one more run? He's got 1.5 laps to do it. And I think it's all going to come down to the final lap of this race.
I think so too. Out of 4 for the penultimate time. White flag in the air here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Lucas Laville, it's got to be a last-ditch attempt somewhere at this circuit with tyres that are perhaps not quite as fresh as Joshua Chin's. He gets a good run out of 2, however, potentially the run and the move. The line is available through 3 and 4, but can Laville get the momentum off the corner? No, he cannot. Joshua Chin takes the race win here in the MKT Aero X Indy 250 by 1/10 of a second.
Wow, what a finish there from Chin and Laville, and Chin did absolutely everything perfectly there. He made the move at exactly the right time and was able to fend off Laville just long enough. He was able to disrupt the run. Chin, your deserving winner here today at Gateway.
Joshua Chin taking it all in. That was a hard fought race. We didn't quite know who was going to take that one until the very final moments. Chin did it the hard way though, from behind, getting the pass done in the dying laps and holding on to that pass as well is a completely different beast. But the King of Chins showing why he has that title. Doing the burnouts across the start-finish straight. Jack Turner joining him in the bright green machine as Chin celebrates yet another well-deserved win.
And crucially for Chin, lengthening his lead over Henry Bennett. Bennett did manage to somehow finish this race in a wounded race car in 7th position, so not as bad a day as it could have been for Bennett, but a great day here for Josh Chin and his lead in the championship.
It's been a fantastic day for the Team Chimera driver. Fantastic day for Team Chimera in general. You would have to argue here in this one because we've got Joshua Chin taking the race win. Not only do we have that, but we also have the car of Jamie Wilson taking a podium place as well. Let's take a look at your official race results then from this 7th round of the championship in the Classic IndyCar Series, powered by Buttkicker. It is Joshua Chin taking the race win by 1/10 of a second, back to the number 1 of Lucas Laville. Jamie Wilson comes home in 3rd place with Robert Grosser in 4th. Ethan Egan finishes in 5th place with Mike Grandy in 6th. Henry Bennett, with a damaged Powerslide Motorsports car that was damaged actually quite early on in this race, is still able to come home in 7th place. That is a great points haul, great points recovery for Henry Bennett. Franz Joseph Sturm in P8 with Jonathan Diggs P9. Jack Turner will round out the top 10. And then everyone else's retirements, unfortunately. Andrew Aitken in P11 with Logan Simmons in P12. Hannes Pitkin in P13. Caleb Weekly in P14. Cameron Dance 15th with Alterna 16th. Styles 17th. Hoffman 18th. Ilya Olia in P19. And Andrea Dias-Unas in P20. Those are your finishing results here, Andrew. And what a race we had. That came down to the wire. It's one of those things where usually we talk about in racing, oh, I wish I just had 1 or 2 or 3 more laps. I think for Laville there, you were hoping you had 1, 2, 3 less laps.
Yeah, absolutely. He just couldn't find a way past Josh Chin. Chin was just too stout in those final few laps. Ran the perfect lines in order to keep Laville behind him. And Laville, as we know, is no mean driver to try and keep behind you.
Certainly isn't. And, well, we can talk to our race winner then. We can drag Joshua Chin up into the commentary booth. The Team Chimera number 93. Ooh, my word. Takes another race win. Not sure what that was there, Josh. But either way, a race win for you and one of the more hard-fought race wins you've had.
Yeah, that was a fun 100 laps with Lucas there. I didn't expect that we were going to have a fight like that. I thought it was going to be ourselves versus the iconic cars, and they kind of fell away during that run, and Lucas and Robert were up there to challenge us for podiums, but 1-3 on the day is really good, and big opening in the points now. A lot of bonus points, and Henry only finishing 7th. Was a big day.
Yep, absolutely incredible as well. And just take me through that final stint, though, because I get the feeling you knew what you needed to do in that instance up against Lucas Laville. It was close at the end, though. You only got it done with, 5-6 laps remaining, but you were able to get the pass done. Just take me through what your thought processes were in that final stint.
I didn't think there was any shot at the win, honestly. It looked like it was going to be a little too much to overcome. Me and Jamie both thought we had stayed out too long, and then he really started reeling in time on Robert, and I was starting to reel in time on Lucas at the same time. I still didn't think I had a shot to get there until lap traffic kind of helped a little bit. Got up there with about 10 to go, just kind of got 5-6 tenths back on him, got the draft, and for whatever reason, it seemed like the leader was really a sitting duck, being out front, so it worked out great. I was able to get the run on him and eventually just build up a good run out of 2 and be able to clear him down in 3 and 4. And at that point, it was just kind of making sure to hold off any advances. I didn't figure he had the tire to be able to get there, but I figured he was still going to try and make some moves to get back to the inside if he could.
Yeah, and that did seem to be an ever-present threat in those last couple of laps. Once you got yourself past, Laville wasn't giving it up without any sort of fight, which is very typical for him. Sort of looking at the grand scheme of the season, though, of course, we are solidly in the second half now. You've gotten yourself even coming into this, a good buffer in terms of points over Henry Bennett. You mentioned it, in the first couple of words you said just now, that it's an important point today for you because Bennett didn't have the most fantastic of days. Do you think this is going to be potentially, well, not so much a turning point in the championship, but an important point in the championship with regards to the buffer that you can now sustain?
Yeah, I definitely think it's important, especially going into the end of the season. There's some races that can be a little volatile. Indy Road Course and Phillip Island. Indy Road Course, even with the new layout, will still be a little draft dependent. Auto Club will be draft dependent. Belle Isle is, Belle Isle. You either do great or wreck, and I'm hoping for the first one, not the wreck, but we'll see. And then, honestly, just having a buffer into the Indy Oval would be great because, the last 2 years gone in with, needing to win or do something good and haven't had that against the Vortex cars. And I think it'd be the same case against Henry. So having that buffer going into Indy is kind of the big goal, especially with double points on the line there.
Speaking of the road courses, we head to Belle Isle, which is more, a street road course. So you said that one's going to be a bit of a 50-50. You never know what's quite going to happen, considering, like you said, it's either going to be a wreck or not. So again, what's your overall attitude coming into that one? Are you just going to just join the race, see what happens, or is there going to be more of a formulated plan for you?
Just go out and run laps and try and be consistent. I think I'm 2 for 3 on winning, and the other one was a wreck in my first CIS start. So, hopefully repeat the last 2 races and not the first one, if possible.
All right, thank you very much for joining us, Josh. A great race win by just a single tenth of a second here today. I'll leave you go and celebrate with whomever you wish to celebrate with.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Joshua Chin there, taking the race win here today. That's the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Andrew, you're going to be standing by with the one, the only, Lucas Laville.
Lucas, it was so close there for the win, your first win of the season here, but unfortunately it's a second place finish today. We're going to get to the last few laps in a second, but take me back sort of more towards the first half of the race, and you got off strategy compared to Josh Chin. What was the thought process going in to make that strategy call?
Actually, I wanted Iowa first thing first.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No problem. I just wanted tires at this point in the race. It was close to halfway through a stint, and the field wasn't that big, so the track position loss wasn't that big of an issue, and I knew I could just follow the people that were pitting with me, no problem. So that was an easy strategy call. In hindsight, I probably would have stayed out just because the gap in tires was too big for me to be able to create myself a gap, as we could see in the second half of the race. But I guess we'll come to that later.
Yeah, so looking at that second half, you really had a sort of knockdown, drag-out fight with Josh Chin for a long time. He was sort of stalking you, then you would stalk him for a little. So what was that like, just trying to figure out where the best place to be on the track was?
I guess it was we had such different aero packages, different cars. I was really trimmed out compared to him. That's why it was easily passing me every time. So the best move was to just be high in turn 1, to have a very late apex in 2, to be able to exit with lots of speed. Lots of speed. Sorry. And you really have to set up the pass for 2-3 laps, work on your line, and work on getting the car in front of you. Take the line you want it to take defensively into turn 1, so you have a better exit. But it's very difficult to set up, and when you're against a driver of the caliber of Joshua Chin, and at some point he has better tires and a better car probably than you have, it's all mental. And I'm very disappointed, but at the same time, it was such a great race. Fighting with someone like Josh is always something special to me, since I only do CIs pretty much. And even though I didn't get the better of this, I think I can come out with lots of positive from this. That's for sure.
You were certainly maybe 1 or 2 laps away from making the move happen back on him there. Looking forward towards the rest of the season. I know the first half didn't go quite the way you were hoping to, but you still definitely have some time to get back into a better spot in this championship. Maybe not catching Josh, but what are your hopes for the second half of the season?
Well, I'm missing one more race probably too, so the crown is gone. That's 1 point. So I'm fighting for race wins. I was very close today, so that's one that got away from me. But the big target for me this year is Indy. A couple second place finishes, 1/3. Vortex has been great at this track over the years, so the big target for me of the year is Indy, and keep learning at every racetrack, have a good time, have fun. I think we displayed today with Josh and the fights along the field during the second half that this car can display some great racing when done the correct way with respect. So I think we earned some good points as a league and as people overall.
Awesome. Well, that was certainly a fascinating battle that we watched for the last 100 laps of that race between you and Josh. Congratulations on your second place there.
Cheers, guys.
Well, there we go. That was Lucas Laville coming home second place here today, but it could have so easily have been first as well. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, Andrew. Sometimes you get a hard-charging Joshua Chin in your wing mirrors, and it's going to be very hard for anyone in iRacing to try and keep him behind when he's on a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. At a certain point, you just have to respect your competitor, tip your cap to them, and say, we had a great battle and you came out on top today. And I think that's what we heard here from Lucas Laville. Obviously, a lot of respect between those two drivers, and it showed not just in their interviews, but in their on-track behavior as well.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic to see, and I certainly want to see more of it. However, that's all that we're going to have time for here today. However, you do not want to, miss the next race here in the Classic IndyCar Series powered by the Buttkicker, because we head to, street race racing, and we head to Belle Isle. That's on the September 4th. 2022, same time, same place here on RaceSpotTV, and of course on ESTV as well. That goes on, that gets released about 1 week later than we do here on the live stream. But from myself, Connery Maddock, I've been joined by the ever wonderful Andrew Kinsella for tonight's broadcast. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye bye.